up, guys? It's your girl, Miss Butterfly Beast of Fitness by Nori, also known as Nori. Welcome to your Lunchtime Power Hour. Guys, this series is a bit serious. It's something that most people do not like to discuss, and it is grief and loss. You guys had the opportunity to look at last week's um, interview with Miss Sherry Savoy, and we thank her again for that. And today we have Miss Celestina, also known as Tina Cisneros. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you.
So we're gonna ask you just a few questions just to get everything kind of relaxed and get us
Okay.
going. Okay. So, um, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old.
Okay.
And
Are you married?
I'm
Single?
single. Single as a Pringle.
Single as a Pringle? Ready to mingle?
Mingle, we can mingle a little bit.
Okay. Okay. How many children do you have?
I'm sorry.
How many children do you have?
I have three children.
Three
Mhm.
children. Okay. What type of work do you do?
I'm in the bank industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this series, we're getting kind of down in it. We're getting kind of serious a little bit.
Yes.
And I want to thank you from the beginning for sharing your story. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And this, oh, we're open to whatever it is that you want to discuss and how you want to discuss it. Okay. Because
Okay.
this is your story. All right. So we're here to talk about the loss of one of your daughters.
Yes.
And her name was
Aria Rose Randall.
Aria
Ari Rose.
Rose Randall.
Yes.
Cute, cute.
Mhm.
And how old was she at the
She
time?
was 6 years old when she passed.
Okay.
Mhm.
So tell us what happened.
Well, she came home one day after school and she was complaining about a headache, and I'm like, okay, girl, just lay down. And she lay down and relaxed a little bit. Throughout the night, she started running a fever, and we really didn't know what was going on. I thought it was the flu, honestly. Called the doctor. The doctor said just wait until the morning and bring her in. And so she had a hard time through the night. She was fussing and stuff like that. But I was just following what the doctor said. And so by morning, um, she was asleep. It seemed like her fever had gone down a little bit, and I don't know. She just in her sleep, she just kind of started getting sick, throwing up, foaming at the mouth, and that's when I realized that there was something really serious. I tried to get her to stand up on her feet, and she just wasn't responding. So, I called 911, and I was waiting on them. And honestly, in my apartment at the time, it was so hard to find my building. So I was, it kind of took a little longer. At least it seemed like it did, but I just kissed her. I kissed her all over her face. I told her mommy's here, and she died in my arms. So,
Oh wow.
mhm.
So after trying to get her to wake up and stuff, from that time to the time that she passed, about how long was that, do you think?
from she, so when I was trying to get her to stand up and get up, she was already passing. I just kind of held her in my arms. I think there is a part of death where your your body is kind of still functioning a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but you're already gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she was going through that, and so she was kind of doing some heavy breathing, and just really staring through me. uh,
So she was just kind of looking at you.
she was looking at me, but there was very little life there. So I just held her. I just kissed her. I just held her. I just told her I loved her. I was going back and forth because again, it was hard to find my building, and so I didn't want them to not be able to find where we were at. So I would, I had my sister there with me, and honestly, my daughter, who was 4 at the time, Ava, she witnessed it as well.
Mm.
Um, and so, I was kind of running in and out, trying to, so I could direct the ambulance to where we were at, and also just go back and be with Ari. Um, so yeah, by the time we got to the hospital, she was gone.
She was already gone.
She was gone in the when she was in the paramedic. I mean, they put her in, and I jumped in the truck with them, thinking I was gonna be able to ride behind her or with her, and they pulled me out. They asked me to get out, and they closed the doors.
So when they put her in the ambulance, you got in there and they told you you couldn't ride with her
Yeah,
as
they
the
asked.
mother?
Right, they asked me to get out from the back. They wanted to talk to me. I think they were trying to go easy on me.
Because she was already
I
gone.
wasn't realizing. It's like this part of grief, or I don't know. It's where you kind of go through a little bit of like a delusion where you're not really understanding,
Okay.
even though
Hmm.
you know what's happening. It's just hard to accept. And so they pulled me out and they kind of just asked me questions about what happened, from the
Hmm.
night until that morning, because it was early. It was about 7 a.m.
Hmm.
And so when they're asking me questions, one of the are they called? What are they called?
Paramedics?
One of the paramedics
Uh-huh.
was in the truck with her,
Uh-huh.
and one was outside talking to me.
Okay.
And so the one that was inside the truck, he opened the truck and said something to the other one, and so the guy that was interviewing me jumped into the truck, and they closed the doors.
Mm.
And so honestly, I was just standing
So you were out there by
outside. I
yourself
was
or
just
your
standing.
sister was there
I
with
was
you?
by myself
Oh,
outside, and
wow.
so it was February, so it was cold.
Hmm.
I didn't have a jacket on, just standing outside the truck, and I was just praying. I was just praying. I was like, God, you said you would never let anything happen to us that we can't handle,
Right.
and I can't handle this. So
Right.
she can't die.
Right. 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 Right.
She can't, you can't do it. And so, but even in that, I felt that he was saying, well, you got this. You're
You
gonna
got
be,
it.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, at that point, we just rushed to the hospital. And by the time we got to the hospital, it was more so just trying to figure out what happened and why.
So let me ask you a
Hmm.
question because there are bits and pieces. So you were standing outside of the truck by yourself, cold and everything.
Hmm.
What did they do? Like from that point, did they just take off? Did you run in the house and grab your sister and the other baby and like we gotta go?
They were resuscitating her,
Okay.
so she ended up. They put a tube down her throat, and they put her on a machine because what happened is her brain fell into her spine, and so the part of the brain that tells you to breathe, tells you, whatever, to blink,
Hmm.
that part of her brain was damaged, so it was not working, so she was not able to breathe or function on her own. Her body was was functioning, but
Hmm.
she wasn't able to tell her body to
It's
function.
almost kind of like a muscle memory type thing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
I just was standing out there. I didn't know what was happening at the time. I know now. But they took it felt like 10, 15 minutes, in that truck while I was just standing outside. They finally got her to a stable point. And then at that point, they still did not allow me to ride in the back with her. I
Hmm.
had to ride in the front cab
Okay.
with the driver.
But you were still in
I
the
was
you
in the
okay.
yes, I was
Mhm.
in
The
the
ambulance.
ambulance. I was just in the front. And
Okay.
so it was hard. It was rush hour.
Yeah.
It was,
So if they needed to work on her and stuff like that, they could do what they needed
mhm,
to do in the back without you being.
seeing it.
But yeah,
I don't think they wanted me to see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay, so when you got to the hospital, you said it was rush hour and stuff, so it seemed like it was
oh,
forever
it was
for you to
forever.
get there.
They took us to Children's, and so
Mhm.
and that's something that because we were on our way, and so the traffic was so heavy, and you're supposed to move over,
Yeah, when the ambulance is
but
coming.
some people do not move over, and so it was just so hard. Remember there was this car that just would not get over. I mean, the ambulance, he was honking at him, like trying to get him to move. He wouldn't move, and like. I don't know. For me as a person, before when I would see something like that, I'm thinking car accident or
Hmm.
something. But no, it can get really deep. And
Right.
so it felt like it took forever. But by the time we got there, it was hard because I wasn't understanding why the doctors and the nurses aren't rushing to save her. Like,
Hmm.
why is everybody so calm? But
Mm.
I realize now that it was just too late. It was just too
Oh
late.
wow.
Yeah.
So you felt like that they were now that they were calm and everything because she had already like passed away, kinda.
Yeah, she did. She passed away in my arms at home, when I was holding her and kissing her. And then, they resuscitated her. They put her on the machine, and she stayed like that until we had to take her off of the machine. So when we got to the hospital, it was more of them trying to figure out what happened and why is she gone.
Mhm.
Than actually saving her, because there was just once that part of your brain is gone like that, I mean, there's just no saving it.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you got to the hospital and you're talking to them and they're trying to find out what happened or whatever, what information did you find out? Like, was it anything that was confusing to you? Like, what?
Yeah, so it was very hard because on the surface, I mean, all we knew is that her brain was injured. And so usually, when you think of a brain swelling, it's because somebody was hit or they fell or something happened like that,
Mhm.
And so they're trying to ask me, what happened? Did she get hurt? Did she fall? I mean, anything. Did she fall off the couch? Did she fall off her bed? Did she hit her head anywhere? And I'm just like, no,
Mhm.
nothing like that has happened. And so the doctors were probably they were feeling like you got to know something,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, she said she had a headache, and that was it. um and so when they started explaining to me what was going on with her brain, they did start giving me all kinds of uh what is it, the chance of her living, all
Mhm.
these different percentages, and they were very low. I mean, they were like 1% chance, 6% here, and I'm like, so you're telling me you've never, I remember asking one of the doctor in the ER, you know, have you seen anybody come out of this before? And she was like, no, I've been in
Wow.
service for 20 years or however long, and she was like, I've never seen anyone, but I mean, they were breaking it down to me very slowly. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So you said that, and to kind of lighten us up just a little bit, you said that you kind of had like a feeling or a premonition early on
Yeah.
when you had your daughter.
Yeah, so when she was born, she was just a baby. I mean, an infant, weeks old, and I just had this feeling like I'm not gonna have her for a long time. She's not, I'm not gonna have her for a long time. She's not going to live, and that's a hard thing because she was a brand new baby. I
Right.
mean, we're celebrating life, and I was just feeling like, no, something's not right. So I actually went to speak with my pastor, and I let him know, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just me, something's going on with me, but I just don't think I'm going to have her for a long time. And he said to me, well, maybe God is just trying to prepare you for something, And so,
Wow. So you have three other children besides her. So your
yes,
first daughter is how old?
she's 11.
She's 11. So the daughter that you lost would have been right behind her. So
Yes,
now she would have been about how old?
she would be about 8 now.
8. And then your third one is,
She's 6 now.
and then
And then I have a 3-year old.
3-year old. So at that time, did you feel like maybe it was postpartum? Did you have postpartum with any of your children?
No, but see, and yes, that's what I thought it was. I thought that, I'm having this feeling that I'm not going to have her. I thought, well, maybe I'm having the postpartum depression. Do I need
Mhm.
to protect my children from myself?
Mhm.
Which is why I went to go speak to my pastor
Mhm.
because I mean, how do you tell somebody that I think I'm not going to have her for a long time? I
Right.
just had this baby. And so I went to talk to him, and he was like, well, maybe God is just preparing you for something. And when he said that, that's probably all I needed to hear because
Mm.
that's all I wanted to hear
Yeah.
at that point. But yeah, that's what I thought
When
it
he
was.
said that, did it make you like nervous or did it make you mad? Like preparing me for what? Like I'm
It made
confused.
me just not want to talk about it anymore and not
Um,
want to go there. I didn't want to dive into that.
to maybe the loss of her
Yeah,
by death.
the thought of ever
Mm,
losing her. Yeah, that
mm,
was just, it was too much.
okay. Wow. Oh, Tina, look. So, when we're going to take a break really quick, okay? And then when we come back, I want to kind of delve into that part because you said something about like when he spoke to, God spoke to you and you went and spoke to your pastor, and some more information came out of that that kind of gave you a little bit more peace
Okay.
in the situation. So, all right, guys. This has been your lunchtime power hour. We are here with Miss Celestina Tina Cisneros, and she's telling us about the loss of her baby girl. And thank you so much, Tina. This is such an amazing story, and we really want to put this out, and we're hoping that it would help someone. Guys, please make sure that you share this You can sit down and watch it with your children or with your family members, because we just never know when it's going to happen. We never know what's going to happen in the process. And we try to do everything that we can to protect our loved ones and things of that nature. But the word tells us that we don't know the day or the hour when the Son of Man shall return. And so we just try to be as prepared as we can. So hopefully these stories are helping you guys in the process. So we will be right back after this break.
Meningitis is an illness that can be very scary. It's an infection that can make people very, very sick. Babies who get the disease are at particular risk of getting dangerously ill because it can be tricky to diagnose and symptoms can escalate quickly. More on how to recognize and treat meningitis from Mayo Clinic.
Very smiley, very happy kid.
That sums up little Jimmy Morse. But when symptoms of meningitis hit, he became very lethargic.
He had a very high temp, 104.5 under the arm, and he was making a lot of moaning noises and just was not with it and wasn't acting like himself. And he had a rash, like a little bit of a reddish rash on his stomach.
Since Jimmy's a baby, he couldn't tell anyone if he had two other telltale signs of meningitis: headache and stiff neck.
So meningitis is inflammation of the membranes around your brain and spinal cord.
Dr. Ritu Banerjee says meningitis can be caused by viruses or bacteria. Bacterial meningitis is more severe. The bacteria that cause meningitis typically live in our nose and airways. In rare cases, the bacteria can get into your bloodstream or meninges, which are the membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord. Left untreated, meningitis can cause brain damage and even death. So it's vitally important to get emergency treatment fast. Jimmy did. His parents took him to the emergency room where doctors diagnosed him with bacterial meningitis. He was admitted to the hospital and stayed for 7 days as he received IV antibiotics. When Jimmy got home, he continued oral antibiotics for 5 days. Jimmy was very lucky. He recovered from a very severe case of meningitis.
I think it was even more scary when the doctors started telling us that he must be destined to do something in this world because most kids don't make it through.
Back to his happy self after battling bacterial meningitis. Dr. Banerjee says the best way to protect against bacterial meningitis is for children and adults to get routinely recommended vaccinations. And to prevent viral meningitis, wash hands often, don't share utensils, do the same things that help prevent cold or flu. For Medical Edge, I'm Vivian Williams.
And we are back. This is your Lunchtime Power Hour brought to you by Fitness by Nori. And guys, we hopefully you were able to see the grief support groups and the mental health, the suicide prevention, and all of the different information that we've been presenting to you guys. It will be presented throughout the program on the screen for your assistance. So make sure, guys, sit down with your family members, sit down with your friends if you need to, because some people don't even know that they need this type of assistance. But sit down with them and help them through this. Grief and loss is a very difficult thing to deal with. And we thank Tina for talking to us about this. All right, Tina, when we went to break, we were talking about when you had the baby, you were, that just the thought of you not having her for long. And you went to your pastor and spoke to him about it. And you were like, I don't even want to talk about this no more. I'm done with it. But you said that the thoughts still stayed with you.
Yes, I definitely know his voice. I know God's voice, and I knew He was speaking to me. It was just I couldn't dive deeper in it, And so I wasn't upset or definitely stayed with me. There would be times when God would tell me, hug her now, hug her while you can, and
Mhm.
and I would just snatch her up and give her a hug and a kiss. And
Mhm.
so, um, yeah, it's just how it
Does
went.
that affect you now, like with your girls that you still have? Do you hug them often? Because you say you're not a like a touchy feely type person.
I think a lot of me not being a touchy feely person has come from other stuff in my past, and so with losing my daughter, with losing Ari, I really I really found a lot of healing after that, and so from that healing, I believe it has made me a better mother, and it's also given me that freedom to be lovey-dovey. And so, yes, I do love on my children more, but I wouldn't say that it's because of the trauma. I would say it's because of the healing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So when we get to the point of, you know, when we get back to the hospital part,
Hmm.
and you're talking to them about everything that's going on, and they're saying there's some trauma to her brain, this part of her brain has shut off, and this and that, what happened? And you were saying that you felt like that they were kind of coming at you like you had done something.
Right. Yeah, and I definitely understand. I know at one point cuz they brought me into an empty room, and honestly it looked like a room where like a storage room where they kept some stuff, and so they brought me into a room. They sat me down in a chair, and I was there by myself. My family knew, and they were on the way, but I came in the ambulance. So I was alone.
And your sister had your
She
other little girl because she was
Yes.
4 at the time.
Yeah, so she was
Okay.
actually at home with my other daughter, my two other daughters. She was with my 4-year-old, and then I had a brand new baby. She wasn't even a year yet.
Oh wow.
So she was, yeah. Um, so they're at home. My mom, she's on her way. My family's on her way. Ari's daddy is on the way, and they bring me into this room, and they're asking me, give us something, anything. Is there anything you can tell us? And I'm like, no, I don't know what else to tell you.
How old were you at that time?
At that time, let's see, it was about 29, I think.
Okay.
I was almost 30.
Okay.
Um,
And so they're asking you these questions.
they're
It's almost
asking me
like
questions.
interrogation.
It felt like an interrogation. I felt like I was in trouble. It felt like they were trying to kind of watch me. But at the same time, I wasn't guilty. So I didn't, I felt we were all trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And so they just asking me. And the doctor, he seemed very angry. The ER doctor, he
Mm.
seemed angry and upset. He was upset. And so
But
he
why
had
do
a
you
bit of an
think that?
attitude.
Like,
I think that he was upset that she had passed away. I think he was upset that he saw her brain was injured, and I think he was just like he's probably seen a lot and thinking what happened to this child. I
mm,
don't think you can go into a profession like that working with children and not actually have a heart for children.
mhm.
And so that's what I saw from him, that he was just like, what happened to this child? Who did it? I'm going to, get down
Yeah.
to I need to get down to the bottom of this. And I think they were frustrated because I didn't have answers,
Mm,
and other than, well, she just had a headache.
mhm,
And so they brought me into that room, and they were talking to me, and I was in shock. So I probably seemed very blank.
mhm.
Um, and he finally said to me, well, mama, she may not come out of this. And I kind of I think I froze for a minute and just stared. And then I kind of fell over into my chair a little bit. And so, they all just walked out of the room. And, I'm kind of timid, especially back then. I
Mhm.
was very timid. So I wasn't really saying anything. I was just listening to what they told me. And so finally, I went to the doctor, and I said, I don't understand. I don't understand what's happening.
Mhm.
And he said to me, we don't understand either, mama. We don't understand. Can you just please tell us something? And
Oh
he's
wow.
shaking his hands like this in my face. And I said, I don't know. And he kind of rolled his eyes and walked away, because he
Mhm.
felt like you got to know something,
Right.
and I get that,
Right.
I honestly, and I tell people about this, they kind of get upset. Like, I can't believe he was treating you like that. But you
Mhm.
know what? I appreciate how much he wanted to take
Right.
care of
How
my daughter, how
passionate he was.
passionate he was.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, I just, they brought a chair. I knew it was bad because they started talking about call the chaplain, and I was just, I started feeling I was gonna pass out. Everything started going black, and I started praying like, God, I don't want to pass out right now.
Right.
And everything happened while I'm
While
asleep,
you're right. Like I want
And
to be here
like,
and know what's
please,
going on
like,
with my
please,
baby.
yeah, I started feeling
Yeah.
myself. Like, they brought me a chair, they sat me down, and I just started getting really afraid. Like, I don't want to black out right now. I want to be here. And I prayed, and I honestly believe, and I know, I'm not going to say I believe, I know that He gave me the power to make it throughout that day.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
Whew. And that, you know what? I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even. I don't have any children. I mean, but the love that I have for like my godson, my nieces and nephews, just to know that you carried and birthed this child, and now we're at this stage, and it's difficult for people to lose their children when their children are older, and so they've had some life or some time with them, right? But with you, your baby was little, like
Yeah.
you like, no, I know I got some more time.
Yeah.
So it's like in your mind you just like you said, blank, like, oh
Yes.
my god.
Yes, I drew a blank, and it was hard. And then I felt so guilty because they never called it death. I don't know if they were just trying to kind of baby step me into what was happening. I knew what I saw. I knew she had passed away at home. I mean, I've never seen death before, not right in front of my eyes. I understand now, like, that the spirit can be gone and the body still be functioning, which that's what was happening. And so they were trying to baby step me. And so when it came to the point where I had to tell everybody, 'cause I had to tell everyone that she was gone, and I felt so guilty because I felt that I had failed her. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know why she was gone. I just knew that she was gone, and I felt that it was my fault. Like, and how do I go and tell all these people that I failed? Not just her, but I failed you, and
Those are
and she's
those
gone.
those are those different stages of grief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at first you were like numb and kind of blank, and then you were kind of shocked a little bit, like kind of sad, and then you were like guilty, like,
Yes, there was
I did
guilt.
this.
There was a lot of guilt, and then they had called the chaplain, and she came, and I take my relationship with God, with my relationship with Christ, so seriously.
Yeah.
I'm very close to him, and he's very close to me. And so when they called her, they were like, "Oh, she's like, you want me to pray for you?" And I was like, "No, I'll pray. I'll pray. And you can stand and you can stand with me right
got a
here in
relationship with God
agreement with me. I
myself."
don't need you to pray." And that's what I did. I prayed over my baby, and honestly, that was such a very special time, because they had her. She was all hooked up to the machines, and they had to put they actually had to have a machine on her to keep her body warm, and then they had like this big kind of like bubble wrap that they put over the body to keep the body warm. And so she was all hooked up, like that, and I was still alone because nobody's made it to the hospital yet. And the chaplain comes in, and I just went in there, and when I tell you, the presence of the Holy Spirit was so strong. I mean, he was just there. It was comforting. I was able to pray for my baby, and the chaplain, she was there. She was crying with me, and it was just a beautiful time. And honestly, that's where I felt recharged. Like, okay, I can do this. I can, I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew
That you had the power to do
I
it.
could do it.
Whatever it was, you
Yeah,
can do it.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So after that, when did you get to the point to where they like took her off the machines and all of this? Was anybody there with you at that time?
Yeah, so it was about a 2-day process. So being that it was a brain injury, there are tests, like legally there are these tests that they have to do. They have to do 2 brain tests before they can legally say somebody is brain dead. And so you do have the option. I had the option to take her off the machines, but it's not really. We wanted just to see what our chances were. And so what happened after that, honestly, they started running tests because we still didn't know what happened. And so when they started running tests, they had done all kinds of different tests, but they did a spinal tap. And when they did that, they told me, we're going to do this test. We're going to check the fluid in her brain. That is going to take about 48 hours or more for those results to come back.
Okay.
And we're like, okay. And so it was just a waiting. We were just all waiting. And then within an hour, maybe 2 hours, they came back and they pulled me and her father into her room, and they explained to us, usually these tests take long, but it was meningitis. The meningitis was so strong, it attacked her brain so fast that it came back within 2 hours. They were able to detect it. Yeah, which it should have taken about 2 days for them to see that. Yeah, so they were just like, there was, no matter what, it didn't matter. I asked them if I would have brought her in as soon as she said that she had a headache, would she have had a chance? And they said no. There was no chance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the meningitis was just so strong. It just had hit her so
It hurt
quick
her so fast. It attacked her brain so fast that there was nothing
that
there
you
was
guys
just-
could have done.
It just made no, it just makes no sense. I remember her dad said, "How much money can we pay? What can we pay? What? Don't even, And they were
Don't
like,
do it. Don't do it.
They were like, nothing. There's nothing. And so, it was hard. It was
That's a little
and that's
bit.
the part where we talk about, you want to protect your children.
Mhm.
You want to do everything you can. I mean, I know I kept antibacterial soap in their bathroom when they wash their hands. And that's what it was. It was a little tiny germ that took my baby. But, I heard the bishop say in church maybe last week, he said, our children are really not ours.
Yeah.
We're co-parenting.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what happens. And you do your best, but at the end of the day,
So that's what it'll hit me, girl. Look, it'll hit me because it's that, like, they talk about men so much and how the man is not there and men are this and men are sorry and blah blah blah. And that man was like, how much money can I pay?
Yeah.
Like to make, because when you look at the medical field, you look at the medical field as, oh, it's all about money.
yeah.
Clearly, that wasn't the case because you have this doctor that is just so passionate. He's like, I know something that happened to this baby. And like you said, there has to be some type of passion for children for them to do this.
Yes.
And so when this man comes up in here, her father, he's like, look, I understand. I understand how the game go. You know what I'm saying? What can I pay for my baby to, that kind of hit me in my heart.
Yeah, and that was very hard because, when he came, I had called him the night before when she was having a hard time. And sometimes me and him, we do great co-parenting. Sometimes, you know how it is. And I called him and he didn't answer. I may have called him 2 or 3 times. And he didn't answer, and I was going to shoot him a text message, but I didn't have nothing nice to say. I had nothing nice to say, and God told me, don't do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't text him. And so when he got to the hospital, it was hard on me. But women, we take charge and we just do what we got to do. But he was so hurt. It hurt him so deeply. Like I saw him kind of crawl into a corner of the door, and he's crying. He was talking to his sister, and he's telling her, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And he was just broken down, and even when we had to go through the brain test, we were present, and those are not easy actually to watch. They do things like, for example, they take a Q-tip and put it underneath the eyelid, just to see something, And so, and then, in the last brain test, they gave her a chance to breathe, where they took her off. They took her off of the machine and gave her
To see
a
if she could
chance
breathe
to
on her own.
And so, I don't know. It was hard for him, and he went through a moment. He was like cheering her on because he thought she was breathing, and she wasn't. And so that was very hard to. It was hard for me. It was hard to watch everybody, but it was very hard to watch him break down. And at the time, again, I felt like I failed you. I failed our children. I failed our daughter. So
Wow. Listen. Tina, we gonna have to take a break. Look, Miss Butterfly Beats need to get herself together. Like, oh my goodness. Like that really hit me in my heart realm. Like, all right, guys, listen. we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break really quick. And we will be right back for your lunchtime power hour with Miss Celestina Cisneros.
My name is Rose Robertson, and I live in Mason, Michigan. The most difficult thing that people have said to me since my son's death is that I still have other children and grandchildren, and it almost like minimizes the fact that Jake is not here any longer. Yes, I adore my other children and grandchildren, but he is still not here. I'm still missing one child. The one thing I do consistently to help me deal is I need silence. I need to be able to have some retreat time so that I can get a grip on the reality of the situation as it is in my life, which is learning to live without one of my children and still having quality of life, because there's a lot to live for. There's a lot of other good things out there, and I can't make that my main focus, though it is always with me, ever present, every minute of every day. The advice I would give to someone else who has lost a child is to honor how you feel. Don't let the rest of the world dictate by telling you what you should or shouldn't do. There are no rules when it comes to coping with the loss of a child. You just have to take it, not even a day at a time, but a minute at a time, and learn how your life has changed and how you're going to proceed forward. Everybody's grief is different. Everybody's grief is unique. It is affected by the relationship you had, how close you were to your child or whoever it is that has died. There are a lot of factors that go into your grief. So don't think you're doing it right or wrong, because however you need to do it is the right way to do it.
And we are back. This is your lunchtime power hour brought to you by Fitness by Nori. And this is our grief and loss series. We are here with Miss Celestina Cisneros. And when we went to the break, we were talking about your children's father and how he supports and how he was willing to just pay whatever. To me, I just think that that's an amazing thing that he want to be there to support and protect his daughter. And so, how are you guys' relationship now?
I We do good. I mean, we co-parent. He still, comes and gets his girls or gets our girls, and they spend time with him, and so it's going
Pretty good,
pretty well.
pretty good. And at that time, you guys weren't together,
No.
and at that time, you had already had all four of your girls.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, did you think that, or maybe did he think, I don't know, did you guys discuss that because of that, that may like bring you guys together or anything like that?
No, we were not. I think by that time it was, our relationship was over. I will say that it did do something though, because after that, I remember, when everything was all said and done, when we had done the final brain test, and it was really time for everybody to go home. I was really the only one able to speak to him, because again, during the brain test, actually, he felt like she was up there breathing, even though they told us, she's gone. He still was not accepting that, and I remember his mom came and said, well, I don't know what to tell you. He thinks that she's still up there breathing. And so when he came and I saw him, and I was like, she's gone. And he just threw himself on me. He just was like, threw himself on me, and he was hugging me, and he was like, do you remember, when you told me that you were pregnant with her? And he was like, I just need to be with y'all. I just need to hold y'all close. I just need to be around y'all. That's the only way I'm going to feel close to her. And so I felt like that really did kind of change a little bit of the dynamic in our relationship. It's still co-parenting, but we were the grieving parents. We were the only ones who really understood, the loss of a child, and so we did kind of lean on each other a little bit there. And spent time together, but as far as like relationship or getting back together, no, it wasn't anything like that.
Okay. Awesome. Oh, Lord. It's just something about like when men show their emotions and stuff like that. I mean, and for me, especially like I say, like black men just get such bad flack. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, all of them are not 100%, but those that are, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, we got to give them their props or whatever.
Definitely. Nobody's perfect. No, nobody's perfect, especially coming from a broken world, and especially like you said, black men, they go through a lot, and, they don't come from a perfect,
Right.
past. Some of them don't even have fathers or active fathers in their lives, and then they're just thrown into fatherhood. And so we do have to understand that they're doing their best just like we are.
Right.
You know.
Right. Okay, so now where are you guys as far as, taking her off of the equipment and, getting to the point of the funeral and all of that? Because all of that is coming now that,
At that point, it was, I'm glad we went and we agreed to do both tests, because by the time after the second test, it wasn't an option of keeping her on. It was like, okay, I'm sorry guys, she's dead, and that was it. So it was time for us to go home.
And when you're saying both tests, you're talking about the brain test.
Yes, the brain test. And so it was time for her to go. It was time for us to go. The coroner's office actually wanted to come and get her, because anytime a child comes and dies within 24 hours of visiting the ER, they are gonna, do autopsy. So we had to release her to them, and then by the next day we took one day off, which it wasn't even a full day, because we went home. We left the hospital about 3 a.m. and then we took the rest of that day, that same day off, and so, which was a Sunday, and so that Monday morning is when we got back at it.
Okay. And so on Monday morning, Sunday, you're just doing nothing. Don't want to visit. No, nobody visits you or anything.
I did have some visitors on Sunday. I mean, I had visitors every day. But come Monday, I mean, we just all got together. Their dad's mom, their grandma, came over, and he couldn't handle planning the funeral, so he wasn't really involved in that. It was more so me and his mom planning it, and we went from there. We found a really great place. I don't know if I can. Laurelland. They were so helpful. They took care of us in just an amazing way, and so Miss Pam, shout her out.
Miss
But
Pam at Laura
Flora Home. She helped me, and they gave us some great discounts. I mean, we weren't prepared. We're young parents.
Right.
We had young children. We were not preparing.
So
for
you guys
that.
didn't have
We're
any
preparing.
insurance or anything
No.
like that as far as death.
Right, we were preparing for a long time, and what's so crazy, I did have life insurance on us at one point, but after I had my fourth daughter, I had to make some cuts, and so I cut off the life insurance, and so she passed away maybe 2-3 months after I did that. So we didn't have anything, but man, our community really came together. A great friend of mine, actually, she's the mother of Aria's best friend. She started a GoFundMe for our family, and there were so many people donated, and so I was able, with my money and the GoFundMe, we were able to get it done. And I mean, her service was beautiful. It was amazing.
Awesome. So we have, pictures and different things so they're able to see that. So that's awesome. And thank you for providing those pictures and stuff for us to see that. So from the funeral, how do you, nobody ever, and for me, I don't have kids, so nobody ever thinks that they're gonna bury their children.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the children should be burying me. I'm the older one, right?
Exactly.
So how do you not get over it? Because that's not the right word. How do you get through it? What's the next step?
I mean, honestly, and I've talked to other parents too, and it's so foggy. You're completely numb, um, and you're just in a daze. So you're kind of just going through the motions. The grief really doesn't start until after the funeral. And so the funeral was beautiful. I was there. I was present, but it was. I know me and her dad were just sitting next to each other. We're like, we just can't wait for this. Just want to get out of here.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. The message was beautiful. Everything. She was beautiful. Um, but it was hard. I didn't even let them bury her in front of me. So we had a little ceremony at the burial, but we weren't even by.
You didn't allow them to put her in the
I
ground in front
couldn't.
of you.
I
Okay.
couldn't handle
Okay.
it. Yeah, I couldn't.
Okay.
So, but that's what we did, and it was a beautiful service. I have so many people coming back saying, "Oh my goodness," but it's so foggy. It's just a fog.
So when do you feel like you started to kind of pick yourself up? Because of course you got to be there for the other three girls, and what are they feeling? Did you even talk
Oh
to
my
them?
gosh, they were having such a hard time. Like my 4-year-old, her and Aria was the glue that kind of kept them all together. She was the middle baby, and so
You said she was extra.
she was so extra. We would have sleepovers. That girl I would get up and this girl got everybody sitting around the table. She'd have made waffles for everybody. And, it was like, okay, Ari. So she was just like that. She always knew what to do. She always wanted to do something. And so with her being gone, it felt like such a deep hole in our life. And the thing about it was my 4-year-old witnessed it. She saw it, and she was having temper tantrums. I remember her one time she was crying. It was I think it was the day after the funeral, the day of the funeral, but afterwards we were at home and she says, I don't everybody has somebody. I don't have nobody.
Oh
She
my
said, I don't have
God.
nobody. I don't have nobody. And she said, I don't know what to do because her big sister told her what to do. Well, let's play this or let's do that and you do this. She's just like, I don't have nobody. And, so she went through that and she had nightmares, night terrors. It was hard. And then my oldest daughter, she shut down. She completely shut down. I mean, and she actually went through something very tough because, again, her dad, he hadn't got to the point where it was at the hospital, okay, this is what's happening. He was like, no, my daughter's going to get out of this. She can do it. She's going to live, and that's what he was saying. And my children were hearing this. And I actually had to ask him, please stop. You can't let them hear you say that because they believe you.
Right.
And so my daughter, she heard him saying that. And so she thought Ari was going to live. Like Ari's going to get out of it. And so when she died, she was so upset. She felt like we lied to her. She felt like God failed her. And she was just, it was hard. She's just now getting to the point where she's like, you know what, Mom? It's not that I don't believe in God. It's just that I thought that since I did believe in him, that nothing would happen. Nothing bad would happen to us. So she was like, I was angry with him,
Oh, wow. And I hear a lot of people saying that when stuff happens, we get angry with God. I mean, I'm even one of them, because when I went through my divorce, I was super duper angry with God because I was like, dude, I remember when I was 17, I said, if I ever end up in a divorce, just don't let me get married because you know the end from the beginning,
Right.
And so it's like, so we tend to do that a lot. So I can understand why she does that.
And I mean, she was so young at the time. She was, 9? She's 11 now. So it's like,
Wow.
it's hard for kids to process.
So now where are you guys as far as the healing process, like with you and the girls, and your ex? I don't know if you guys even talk about it anymore or whatever, but where are you now?
I think our healing process is kind of separate. I'm not really sure where he's at right now, but as far as me and my girls, I mean, we're doing really good. God has just been so evident in our lives. You know, he's just, he promises so many things to us, and we read about it, we read the verses and we claim them, but I've seen it in my life. I've seen him give that peace that surpasses all understanding. I've seen him use, you know, what's meant for evil for good. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so right now, and I still have my goals. I still have things that I want to do, but even if he stopped right now, and this is as far as you get, man, I am in a better place than I was even before Ari's death. He has not just restored me, but he's just taken me to a place that I never thought I would be. And same for my girls. I mean, they're doing so well, and I'm a better mother. I mean, again, I was very close. I was very, I was a good man then too, but now it's like going through this pain. I had to face a lot because I was the kind of person who would just say, would just close off. I would have a wall up. Nothing could hurt me. Nothing, nothing, nothing. I was just completely, hard. And in order for me to grieve my daughter properly, I didn't want to do it the same way do everything else. Anything else bad happened in my life, I just act like at the time, no, you don't exist. It's whatever. I could care less. But I didn't want to do that with my daughter. I didn't want
Because you didn't care less.
because
You
I
cared more.
cared, and I didn't. I
Yeah.
wanted to honor her, and I wanted to cry. I wanted to do those things. And so, in order for me to get to that place where I can grieve my daughter, I had to face everything in my past. And so it's like I even am so thankful for her, because I don't know if I would have ever done the work, to get to where I'm at today. And so I mean, the healing process, it's been something. It's been real, and it's going well.
Good, good. So you told me that you felt like you kind of gained weight and stuff, and you just kind of like let yourself go because you're trying to get through it. You're trying to
Oh,
get through
yeah.
life, and I know us as women, when we stress, we gain weight, right?
I would just sit there and eat. I would just sit there and eat and eat and eat. And um it was bad. I got so big. I mean, I had just had a baby, and when I got pregnant with her, I wasn't planning on it, and so I wasn't even at that time. I wasn't at a weight. I was working on losing weight, and so when I got pregnant at that time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna blow up." That's how I felt. I was like, "Girl, what is going on?" So I had her, and then um I just, then Ari passed away. And so I was just like, just getting bigger and bigger. I was eating and eating. And yeah, I got to a place, my size was I'd never been that size before.
Do you remember what size it was?
I was about 200 pounds, which for me, that was a lot for me.
Yeah.
That was a lot for me. I've always been very, especially when I was young, I was very, very skinny. I wasn't, and so 200 pounds, that was a lot for me. And I think I may have got up to 210.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you do? What changed for you?
A friend of mine invited me to the class, to your
Okay.
class, and I think we went on a Tuesday, and I just went with him. He was a good friend of mine, and we would talk about God and talk about where we were at in life, and he had heard about the classes at I don't, at TBS,
Mm-hmm.
and so he invited me to go, and I didn't want to go, but I told him, okay, I'll go. So we went, and he kicked my butt, and I was like, I ain't never coming back here. I don't think I'll
Wow.
ever be able to get to, because I mean, y'all were just going, y'all.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way I'll be able to do this. And then at the end of class, you prayed for us. You prayed. And when you prayed, I felt the Holy Spirit so strong. Like, I felt the anointing on you. I felt like not just that I was invited, but this is where I needed to be.
Right.
This is
Right.
where this was just a new a new place a new beginning, where God was taking me.
Yeah.
And so when you pray, that's what made me say, okay, I'm coming back.
Awesome. Look, well, I'm glad I prayed. I'm glad you came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, this is absolutely a ministry because fitness is what helped me too. Talking about loss and grief. I of course I went through the divorce and I got up to 205 pounds, and I say it all the time. I'm only 5'1", so I'm not going up anymore. I'm going out, and so that's what happened. And that fitness by Nori derived out of that hurt and pain, and so it was no coincidence that you came into the room, because that's the ministry that Fitness by Nori is, to transform yourself from the inside out.
And it really is a ministry. I mean, it spoke to me in a different way. I feel like I'm so grateful that God brought you into my life. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
You've been somebody that I can look up to, somebody that I don't know your full story, but I can see that you came out as something. And, there's just some people, I believe that God, you can see him in some people, and you can see him shining through some people. And yes, you're beautiful, you're amazing, but I
Thank
just
you.
saw that anointing on you. There was something in you that was set apart. And so I just feel like you've been kind of like a big sister, somebody I can
Aw.
watch, somebody I can
Thank
yes,
you.
strive
Thank
to
you.
be.
Look, I want a hug.
No, but it really has been. It really, I'm serious. It's been. I know that God brought you into my life for a reason. Somebody
Yes.
that I can watch. Somebody that I can. If she did it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm
Yeah.
just so thankful for that. I really, really am.
Well, I'm grateful that he's using my life. So, and your life as well. Now you're talking about your story now and getting it out there and everything. So what did so from the fitness perspective? So what happened? You ended up coming back to class and you started losing weight. And so how much weight did you lose?
So far, I've lost about 40 pounds, I would say, if not more. Yeah, I started gaining muscle, so it's gone up. But I mean, if you look at my before and afters, Lord have mercy,
Yeah.
you'd be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
totally
they're
different
flashing
person.
on the screen now. So
So yeah, but so yeah, I mean, I had to make a decision. I think I came to class and I was in there for about 6 months maybe, and then I dropped off for another 3 or 4 months. But I always knew I was coming back.
Yeah.
I knew I was coming back. But when I came back that second time, I had decided that I don't care what it's gonna take. I'm sticking it out.
Yeah.
I don't care if I have to miss. I decided that I would never miss a class unless I had to.
Yeah.
And I
And
didn't.
you said that to me too. You was like, "Oh, I'm not missing any classes." I was like, "Okay, like,
Yeah.
all right."
I had to, but I had to take it serious. Like, I'm not missing a class unless I have to. And that's kind of hard because sometimes you do get tired. Sometimes you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to chill.
Yeah.
And so when I forced myself to go, and then it just came to the point where I fell in love with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's been a turning point.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're almost at the end of this thing, Tina. We're going to take a quick break right quick, and then we're going to come back. We'll wrap it up with the fitness part of it, okay?
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break real quick, pay some bills, and we will be right back when we're going to wrap up the story with Celestina Cisneros.
When I walk through, I got sauce too.
And we are back, guys, with your lunchtime power hour brought to you by Fitness by Nori. And we are here with Miss Celestina Cisneros. We were just talking when we left for the break. We were talking about your fitness journey and things like that. So tell us, you lost about 40 pounds. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it feels amazing. It's great because I think when you get to that size, when you get to a point where you're like, I'm never getting out of this. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, oh, wow. I haven't reached my goal, but I'm just so amazed at where I'm at right now because it's a I never thought.
Yeah. I mean, it's a process. Looking shameless plug,
Yes,
fitnessbynori.com, Fitness by Nori on all social platforms. Come and see us. You heard Tina say
the
that
goat.
she
Okay.
was not going to come back again. But look at her now. I mean, and once you lose weight and you get the confidence and you start to view yourself in the mirror differently, does that transformation start on the inside before it starts on the outside, or does you see it on the outside and everything starts to transition together?
I think it starts on the inside because I've always kind of struggled with loving my body, and so I had got to a point. I was just sitting talking to myself like, you know what? I don't know at what size you ever felt good about yourself. You were always, kind of um, unhappy with your body, and so it does start on the inside. And so I saw somebody say one time that work on your body because you love your body, not because you hate it. And that spoke to me.
Maybe that was my post. One
Oh,
of my
okay.
posts.
Yeah. And it spoke to me because it's like, exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
what you have to do. You
Yeah.
have to, you can't just think that you're going to fix the outside without fixing the inside.
That's right. That's right. And basically, you were saying when we were at break that you started to feel both of them happening at the same time as the direction in which your life was going, as far as your fitness journey as well.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was in my Bible, I was praying, I was crying, I was shouting. And, I had gotten to a point where I decided, God, I'm going to let you take control and I'm just going to obey. I'm just going to follow whatever you say. I tried it myself. It didn't work. I've been unhappy and now I'm going to let you take control. And so I knew that fitness, again, I knew that I needed to be in those classes. I knew that that's where God wanted me to be. And so that I was there. And so as I allowed him to work on the inside of me and also on the outside of me, I mean, I just felt like I was at the same stage, within and outside.
And physically.
If that makes sense. And
So mentally and physically, you were
yes,
aligned,
I was
and you seen
yes.
yourself progressing. And
He had to work on my self-esteem, my confidence, and all of that, and so yeah.
And all of that plays a part. I mean, because think about it. You said you were feeling guilty. You were feeling like, you had let your family down. God had let you down because your little girl was upset with God. Like all of these things were, and you said that you know that God speaks to you, and everything that we go through works together for our good. And you've seen everything just come back around, and now you're like, wow. So with your whole story, like the way that you told your story and everything, like I seen it for every step that you were telling. I could picture it, and now I just see how peaceful you seem, and how joyful that you are, and that you're able to tell your story now. Like your eyes watered up just a little bit, but you didn't cry or anything, and like you just feel like you're putting it out there to help someone.
Yes, because I want God to use my life. I before my daughter died, I was in a really bad car accident. I got hit from the back and my car flipped over the median and rolled 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And I lived when I should have died.
Y'all see this miracle? Y'all see this miracle right before your eyes. So we know that God is real, right?
Yeah, so I lived, and when I should have died, and so I was out of work for 3 months because I had a concussion, I had amnesia, I was messed up, and for 3 months I was out of work. I went back to work on Monday, and my daughter died that Friday. So and I went through this time like, why would you let me live
And take my
and
baby.
take my baby?
Yeah.
But you know what? Again, I'm thankful for that time that he gave me, those 3 months I was out of work, because I got to spend the last 3 months of her life with her every single day. I wasn't having to rush off to work, or I wasn't too tired. I had to go to bed. I was able to be with her for that time. And I know that he has me here for a reason. And I hope that anybody that looks at my story or hears, about my daughter's story, that they'll know that that God is real, and he really will, if you allow him,
Yeah.
He will use everything that you go through for his good. And I just have decided that I'm going to give it all to him. I give him, he can use my life. And I hope it just helps somebody. I really do.
Yeah. I absolutely believe it will help someone. Guys, listen, there has been so much information put across the screen for you guys. If you need help with grief or loss counseling, if you need mental help, if you need suicide prevention, anything, grief support groups, we've been putting all of this information across the screen for you. And we have, of course, we've been showing you the pictures and everything of Celestina's family, her girls, and Ari, the life that she lived right before us. So we want to make sure that you guys are aware that there are different things that we don't think of. We don't think of, we think that we have time. We think that they're not going anywhere. You know, we think that, like we talked about, the child is supposed to bury the parent. There are different things. So, guys, listen, you might want to think about getting your affairs in order. Yes, grief is hard to talk about. Yes, a loss is hard to discuss. But those are things that you want to discuss with your family members. You may be the only family that your friends know. So you may want to discuss it with your friends. What is it that you want? Do you want a burial? Do you want a cremation? Do you want a ceremony? Do you want us to sprinkle your dust across the ground? Do you want us to do it in the sea? Like, what is it that you want? What are your wishes? So that we can make sure that we provide that for you. Have those difficult conversations now and live an amazing life with them now, so that once they're gone, that you won't have any regret, or that you won't be, have that guilt or whatever. And for you, you got to spend those last 3 months not even knowing why you were off from work. Why did I have this accident and live? And you got to spend those last 3 months with her every day
Yeah.
to be able to love on her and give her kisses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we never know, but we do know with us talking that
Yes.
all things, the good, the bad, the ugly, all things
Yes.
work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose.
Yes.
And what I heard you say was you want your life to be purposeful. You want Aries' life and the loss that you dealt with to be purposeful.
Yes.
You want God to use that to help someone else. And right now, you're sharing that story and you're using it, and we truly appreciate you. We're glad that you decided to come. I'm glad that you decided to come to Fitness by Nori. I'm glad that you decided to allow my ministry to help you. I'm glad, and look, it wasn't nobody but God, that prayer, right, that hooked you. I'm glad that you were able to come on the show and share your story and everything. I truly thank you. I appreciate you. And you just don't know how to warm my heart to say, you look at me like your big sister. You're able to talk to me about anything. And I truly appreciate that. So we got a couple of minutes. We're about to go. Is there anything else that you want to share with us? You want to tell the viewers or anything like that?
I would just say, what would I say? I would just say, after you hear my story, listening to my story, I just pray that you will, wherever you're at in your life, just take that step, that first step. The Bible says that Jesus didn't come to condemn the world, but to save it. And so you got to remember that he really will meet you right where you're at. And he has a plan and a purpose for your life. And if you allow him, if you invite him in, he's going to take you to places you never thought possible.
Yes.
So, and I thank you, Nori, for having me. Thank you again. Thank you I'm a product of your ministry. I'm telling you, like, you have an amazing anointing on you.
Thank
you. Thank you for being obedient to him, that you could bless my life.
Thank you so much. And something else that you just said, that just take the step. The word says that the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. So just take that step and he will lead you. He will guide you. He will put people in your lives to help you. So just take the step and do it. So, Tina,
Thank you.
I thank you
Thank you
so
for having
much.
me.
Look, give me this hand. I thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with that one. Guys, this has been your Lunchtime Power Hour brought to you by Fitness by Nori. Please follow Fitness by Nori on all social platforms and follow Tina on all social platforms.
Drop
and
Dead Tina.
Drop,
Drop Dead Tina, Celestina Cisneros on Facebook.
Drop Dead Tina, Celestina Cisneros on Facebook. And we are out.
You are listening to Mighty G Force Radio Soul, the best at Throwback Hits Radio.